Beloved soul, be still. Something in the unseen has been pulling at you all day, and you've tried to ignore it, but your spirit wouldn't let you. That tug you felt when you saw the words, "Only 1% of chosen ones will receive billions," wasn't curiosity. It was recognition. It was heaven whispering, "Tonight is your turn." You've carried the weight of lack for so long that even your prayers have become quieter. You've stretched every dollar. You've smiled through financial storms so your family wouldn't see the fear behind your eyes. And still, somewhere deep inside, a small flame kept burning, waiting for a night like this. Listen closely. Something holy is unfolding over your life. A door in the spiritual realm is cracking open, one reserved for the few, the rare, the appointed. The 1% of chosen vessels who are called not just to survive, but to steward abundance, generational wealth, and a breakthrough season unlike anything your bloodline has ever seen. You feel it, don't you, that subtle rise in your chest? That whisper that says, "This is for me." You're not imagining it. You've stepped into a kairos moment, a divine appointment written long before you struggled, long before the debt, long before the disappointments that made you question your worth. Hear this. "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth." Isaiah 4:3-19. This new thing isn't symbolic. It's financial. It's spiritual. It's destiny. Level. Tonight, heaven is marking you as one of the 1%, not by luck, but by lineage. But before I reveal why the gates of wealth are opening, before I explain why something breaks loose tonight, I need you to stay with me. What's coming next is the part most people never hear, the part that separates those who watch miracles from those who walk in them. And chosen one, if this resonates already, pause for a moment. Breathe. Your season is turning faster than you think. Because chosen one, once you sense a shift like that, it means something underneath your life has already begun to move on. And yet, this is where the real story begins. Not in the promise, but in the pressure you've been carrying alone. You've been fighting a battle no one around you even recognizes. They see your strength. They see your survival. But they don't see the nights when your chest grows tight because you're running numbers in your head praying they'll stretch just one more week. They don't see how your smile drops the moment the door closes, how you sit on the edge of your bed staring at nothing, wondering why your breakthrough keeps slipping through your fingers. You've said nothing, but heaven heard everything, especially the thoughts you try to bury. There's a fear that rises in you around midnight, quiet, cold, familiar. The fear that maybe you're behind in life, that maybe you missed something, that maybe wealth, abundance, financial stability were assigned to others, not to you. You've watched people with half your integrity walk into opportunities you prayed for. You've watched doors open for people who never carried the spiritual warfare you've endured. And somewhere in your spirit a question formed that you didn't dare say out loud. God, did you forget me? But the truth is deeper. You haven't just faced lack. You've faced blockage, invisible resistance, delays that made no sense. Every time you got close to a breakthrough, something slipped, cracked, or collapsed at the last second. It wasn't just bad timing. It wasn't just life. It was warfare over your destiny. And you felt it, didn't you? The strange heaviness that hits you right when things start improving. The unexpected bills that show up out of nowhere. The sudden arguments that shake your peace on the exact day you decide to step into purpose. Listen to me. This wasn't coincidence. It was interference. You've been marked for divine reversal, but before reversal comes opposition. The enemy doesn't fight people who pose no threat. He fights the ones heaven has chosen to handle abundance, the ones destined to break generational cycles of scarcity, silence, and survival. And chosen one. This is why you've been targeted. You carry a wealth mindset your family never taught you to have. You carry a grace for elevation you never asked for. You carry a blueprint, yes, a heavenly blueprint for generational wealth that frightens the darkness around you. But because of that calling, you've also carried wounds that almost convinced you to shrink. The betrayal that came from someone you trusted with your dreams. The friend who cheered for you publicly but secretly feared your rise. The relative who told you to be realistic, not knowing their words, stabbed deeper than they realized. The partner who mistook your purpose for a threat. These moments didn't just hurt your feelings, they created cracks in your confidence. Cracks the enemy tried to widen. Cracks that made you question your worthiness, your timing, even your identity. You started to dim your light. You started to play small. You stopped expecting the miraculous because expecting started to feel dangerous. And yet, your spirit never stopped pulling you forward. Even when your mind was tired, even when your finances were tight, even when your heart carried disappointment like a quiet weight. That tension you've been feeling between who you are and who you're becoming is the sign that your old season is collapsing, the sign that delay has reached its expiration, the sign that the gates of abundance are cracking open specifically for you. But here's the part that almost no one understands. Your blessing didn't delay because you were unworthy. It delayed because heaven refused to release billions into hands that were still bleeding from old battles. And beloved, you've been healing more than you realized. You've been shedding old beliefs about money, worth, and possibility. You've been learning to trust timing instead of forcing outcomes. You've been unlearning generational patterns of fear and survival. You've been stepping quietly into the version of yourself who can handle overflow, because the 1% of chosen ones aren't chosen because they're perfect. They're chosen because they endured pressure that would have crushed others. You endured it. You're still here. You're still moving even if it's slow. You're still dreaming even if it scares you. You're still believing even if your faith is bruised. And that is why heaven is ready to move. Not because you begged for breakthrough, but because you became the vessel who can carry it. But before the wealth comes, before the reversal unfolds, there is a deeper truth you must face. A truth about why your finances were fought so fiercely, why your destiny was delayed, why heaven waited until tonight to say, "It's your turn." Because what blocked you wasn't just circumstance. It wasn't just timing. It wasn't just life being unfair. It was something older. Something hidden. Something that has been standing at the threshold of your blessings for years. A force that knew if you ever stepped into your true identity, if you ever walked in the fullness of divine abundance, if you ever tasted what God ordained, for you, you would never be the same, and neither would anyone connected to you. And that force, that presence, that ancient resistance, is the very thing heaven is confronting right now. Even as you read these words, even as something in your spirit stirs with the memory of every unfinished dream, every financial crumble, every near breakthrough that slipped through your hands, because what stood against you is beginning to break apart under the weight of heaven's intervention, because chosen one, what resisted you was woven into places you never expected, the places closest to your heart. You've carried the strange ache of being the black sheep long before you had language for it. Even as a child, you felt slightly out of rhythm with the rest of your family. Not rebellious, Not difficult, just different. You saw deeper. You felt more. You sensed tension in rooms where everyone else claimed things were fine. And, instead of being celebrated for your discernment, you were labeled dramatic, sensitive, or too much. That label followed you into adulthood like a shadow stitched to your heels. Family gatherings where you sat quietly at the edge of the room because you didn't have the energy to pretend. Moments where you opened your mouth to explain your dreams and watched them dismiss your purpose with a chuckle and a shrug. Nights when you walked away from conversations replaying every word, wondering why the people who should have known you best understood you the least. The pain wasn't just rejection. It was displacement. A sense that you were born into a tribe that could not recognize your calling. And this isolation, this emotional distance, it carved something silent inside you. It taught you to question your worth, your voice, your future. It made you wonder if maybe you were the problem, that maybe God should have chosen someone else for this mantle, this destiny alignment, this weight of divine purpose. But you weren't the problem. Your calling simply outgrew the environment you were planted in. And if your spirit is nodding right now, if you feel that sting in your chest, because this is the wound you never speak of, pause for a moment and let your soul acknowledge it. Then, if you feel led, whisper into the comments, "I rise from rejection." Let that declaration seal what heaven is stirring in you. Because the wound didn't stop with family. It carried itself into the world beyond your home, slipping into your friendships, your partnerships, your daily life. And that is where the warfare took a different shape, a deeper one, a darker one, because the enemy realized isolation alone couldn't stop a chosen one like you. So it attacked your body. The fatigue that hits you out of nowhere. The heaviness in your limbs like you're moving through thick water. The pressure on your chest, not panic, not sadness, just weight. The sudden headaches behind your eyes, the kind that make light feel too loud. The hypersensitivity to crowds, to noise, to energy that disturbs your peace without explanation. You thought you were just tired. You thought maybe you weren't eating well or sleeping right, or managing stress properly, but this wasn't lifestyle. This wasn't health. This was spiritual warfare, manifesting physically. Your body became the battleground because the enemy couldn't silence your spirit. Your strength was under attack because your breakthrough timing was drawing near. Your energy was drained because your purpose required clarity the enemy feared you would finally step into. You have to understand. When a chosen one carries a destiny that will crack generational curses and reroute entire bloodlines toward abundance, the opposition intensifies. Every ache, every wave of exhaustion, every strange heaviness, it wasn't random, it was resistance. And the battle became even more obvious in those nights you couldn't sleep. The 2:00 a.m. awakenings. The 3:11 a.m. jolts. The dreams that felt like warnings. The shadows that made your spirit alert while your mind was still trying to wake up. You weren't just restless. You were being summoned. Your spirit was being fortified. Your body was being recalibrated for the wealth, the power, the divine reversal heaven intended to release into your hands. Yet the more you pushed forward, the heavier it became. The more you tried to step into purpose, the more your body said, "Not yet, not yet, hold on." The more you aligned with your calling, the more the fatigue tried to paralyze you, and deep down you wondered, why does elevation feel like exhaustion? Why does destiny feel like weight? Why is my body breaking down at the exact moment God is telling me to rise? Because, chosen one, when heaven prepares you for abundance, the enemy attacks your vessel. When heaven prepares you for visibility, the enemy tries to weaken your foundation. When heaven prepares you to carry generational wealth, the enemy tries to convince you your body can't hold the blessing. But even in your exhaustion, even in the days when you felt hollowed out and used up, you kept going. Slow, maybe, but steady. Quiet, maybe, but obedient. Wounded, maybe, but willing. And that willingness is what frightened the darkness most. Because a willing, chosen one cannot be stopped. Not by fatigue. Not by isolation. Not by misunderstanding. Not by spiritual heaviness. Yet, there is still another layer. A deeper truth beneath the weariness. A pattern in your life that has quietly revealed the identity of the enemy you've been fighting without even knowing it. A force that has tracked you since childhood, shaping losses, blocking finances, disrupting harmony, and twisting every moment of peace into an unseen battle that now finally heaven is ready to expose. Because what you've been facing is not just hardship, it's the signature of something older than your memory, something that has been waiting for the moment you would finally notice its fingerprints on your life, something that begins to reveal itself in the strange way your blessings always seem to fall apart the moment you reach for them, like something is snatching them from your hands at the final second. You've lived through this pattern more times than you can count, the cruel rhythm of almost stable, almost secure, almost blessed, almost chosen. And this is where the deeper wound begins to reveal itself. Because chosen one, there is a pain most people will never understand unless they've lived it, the pain of the near miss. You know exactly what I mean. That job you were promised right until the email never came. That opportunity that was yours until someone else suddenly jumped ahead. That unexpected bill arriving on the very day you remember it clearly, the exact day you finally saved enough to breathe. That moment in your spirit when you said, "This is it," only for the rug to be yanked from beneath your feet in a way so precise, so timed, so targeted that it felt orchestrated, and it was. This pattern didn't just bruise your confidence. It carved a fear inside you. A fear that whispers every time blessings approach, "Don't expect too much. It won't last." You feel it physically. A tightening behind the ribs. A sinking in the stomach. A sudden heaviness in the shoulders, like your body is bracing for disappointment before your mind even realizes it. This is what long-term spiritual warfare does to a chosen vessel. It conditions them to flinch at the sight of hope. There were moments you sat alone after another setback, staring at a wall, asking in a voice barely above a whisper, "Why does this always happen right when I'm about to rise?" And your spirit, faithful and bruised, kept answering in silence, because something is working against you, but something in heaven is fighting for you even harder. If this is hitting a buried place inside you, pause here. Let your soul breathe. And if you feel led, comment the phrase, "My blessing will not slip again." Let that declaration mark the end of the old cycle, because the truth is, this pattern didn't stop at opportunities. It stretched into something even more sacred. It reached into your calling. And here's where the second wound reveals itself, the burden of discernment you never asked for. You've always seen through people too clearly. You catch the shift in someone's tone before they even realize they shifted. You feel dishonesty in your body, your stomach tenses, your breathing sharpens. You sense hidden motives behind polite smiles, agendas tucked beneath flattering words. But here's the tragedy. When you tried to speak on it, people called you paranoid. When you pulled back, they said you were overreacting. When you trusted your intuition, you were accused of being judgmental or cold, so you learned to stay silent, to swallow what your spirit saw. to carry insights alone because no one around you had the spiritual capacity to understand what you were picking up. That silence became its own weight. A quiet ache behind your sternum, a buzzing at the back of your mind, a loneliness that has nothing to do with being physically alone, because chosen ones rarely suffer from ignorance. They suffer from knowing too much and having no safe place to say it. You've walked into rooms and immediately discerned the energy. You've sensed jealousy from people you supported. You've felt betrayal forming before it happened. You've seen the truth behind someone's eyes while everyone else admired the mask. And instead of feeling powerful, it made you feel tired, heavy, burdened, because spiritual insight without companionship becomes a cross. And you've carried that cross quietly. But listen, the very ability that isolated you is the same ability heaven is about to elevate. Your discernment wasn't a curse. It was training. Training for stewardship. Training for wealth. Training for leadership. Training for the $1 billion mantle. Heaven has been shaping you since childhood, and yet, beneath your ability to perceive others, lies a deeper, unspoken fear. A fear that traces back to every near miss, every betrayal, every moment you felt foolish for trusting too quickly. A fear that whispers in the quiet moments of the night. A fear that becomes loudest right before breakthrough. A fear that whisper, "What if you fail again?" A tiny sentence with the power to freeze an entire destiny. It shows up right at the threshold, right when the blessing is within reach, right when the breakthrough timing is finally aligning with heaven's calendar. Your hands tremble, your breath shortens, your heart feels like it's trying to climb out of your chest. That fear doesn't come from lack of faith. It comes from scar tissue. Because right before every elevation in your life, something traumatic happened, and your body remembers. Your spirit remembers. Your subconscious remembers. This is the silent battle of threshold paralysis. The terror that hits the moment you're about to step into abundance because the last time you tried, life crashed around you. Think about it. How many times did you get a promotion offer, and instead of celebrating, you spiraled into anxiety? How many times did you begin a new project, and your chest tightened as if danger were near? How many times did someone praise your gifting, and you felt exposed instead of empowered? Others thought you were hesitant. They didn't realize you were fighting a trauma. Triggered spiritual warfare inside your own ribcage. The body stiffens, the breath shortens, the hands get cold, the thoughts scatter like frightened birds, and beneath it all a quiet plea forms, "God, don't let this be another disappointment." If this is resonating, take a moment. Let yourself acknowledge the truth without shame. And if the spirit nudges you, write in the comments, "I cross the threshold." Let heaven see your declaration, because what you didn't realize is that this fear wasn't just emotional, it was inherited. And that leads us into the deeper wound, the one most people never trace back to its roots. Your lineage, your bloodline, the ancient weight you were born carrying. You are not just fighting your battles, you are fighting the ancestral burden of those who came before you. Look closely at your family history. Do you see the patterns? Dreamers who never fulfilled their potential. Hard-working men and women who lived in survival mode but never touched abundance. People with brilliance but no breakthrough. Talented souls who died with their gifts still locked inside them. You've watched entire generations circle the same financial blockage, the same relational wounds, the same emotional cycles, as if an invisible ceiling were nailed above the family. And then you arrived. Different. Hungry. awake, discontent with the limitations that everyone else accepted as normal. You started wanting more, not out of greed, but out of destiny alignment. You started dreaming bigger, not because you're unrealistic, but because your spirit remembered something your bloodline forgot. You started breaking patterns without realizing you were breaking them. But breaking cycles doesn't feel like victory in the beginning. It feels like loneliness, responsibility, pressure, a weight between your shoulder blades you can't explain. You've been carrying the emotional debris of generations that never healed. You've been wrestling with fears that didn't start with you. You've been sweating under burdens that belonged to your ancestors. You've been undoing spiritual knots tied before you were even born, and heaven saw it. Heaven recorded it. Heaven honored it. You were chosen as the pivot point, the generational shift, the divine reversal in your family line. But pivots feel like tearing. Reversal feels like resistance. Elevation feels like warfare. That's why the enemy targeted you and not your siblings. Why the pressure increased as your purpose grew. Why every step forward seemed to awaken opposition you didn't provoke. Because the spirit realm knows, if you rise, the curse breaks. If you prosper, the bloodline heals. If you step into billions generations after, you will never taste the poverty that tried to choke your ancestors. And so the fight intensified. The resistance tightened. The fear surged. But chosen won. This entire time something sacred has been forming beneath the surface. A shift. A crack in the old foundation. A rumble in the spiritual realm. A signal that the age-long cycle is weakening, thinning, breaking, and now heaven is pressing closer than ever because the very pattern that's held your lineage hostage is about to crumble under the weight of what heaven is about to release. Because chosen one, hear this with every corner of your soul, none of it was random. Every night you cried into your pillow so no one would hear. Every betrayal that cracked your trust until you questioned your own intuition, every moment of financial strain that made your breath hitch and your hands tremble while you opened another overdue notice. Every season of loneliness when God stripped the room empty until it was just you and Him. Every attack on your body, your mind, your peace, your purpose. Every near miss. Every delay. Every heartbreak. Every closed door that made no sense in the natural. All of it. Every fragment of pain was training. Elite training. Heaven's highest curriculum for those called to carry what others cannot. You weren't being punished. You were being forged. Molded through pressure. Shaped through spiritual warfare. Strengthened through isolation. Refined through disappointment. Prepared for abundance, influence, breakthrough timing, and a level of wealth that would terrify the darkness if released too early. Chosen ones destined for oversight of kingdoms, financial, spiritual, generational, are trained in the shadows before they ever rise in the light. That's why your attacks were heavier than other people's. That's why your setbacks hit deeper. That's why betrayal wasn't just painful, it was surgical. Because God wasn't merely protecting you. He was sculpting you into someone the blessing could not break. Every delay strengthened your discernment. Every heartbreak sharpened your vision. Every loss cleared space for inheritance. Every spiritual battle built muscles for the mantle you're about to wear. And now, finally, the pressure inside your spirit is not a sign of another storm. It is the tremor before release. It is the sound a cage makes right before it breaks. It is the feeling chosen ones get when heaven whispers, "Get ready. The page is turning." If you feel that stirring, that holy trembling, That sense that everything you endured is about to flip, tap, subscribe, and like, right now, as an act of faith, as a prophetic declaration that God is preparing to restore double everything you lost. Not someday, not far away, but now, because, beloved, you have endured enough. The tests have been completed. The furnace has done its work. The warfare has revealed your rank. And now God says, it is time to strike back. He has given me the most precise and divinely revealed strategies, the spiritual blueprint, the set of weapons, the kingdom framework, the pathway into reversing every attack and reclaiming every blessing that was delayed, stolen, or blocked. And tonight, you will receive what heaven has been preparing to place in your hands. But first, before any instruction can be given, you must understand the first law of divine retaliation, the foundational shift that will unlock the entire trajectory of your wealth, your destiny, and your rise into the 1% mantle God has prepared for you. So listen closely now, chosen one, because what comes next is not theory. It is protocol. It is instruction. It is the architecture of your reversal. The first protocol, the law of immediate severance. There is a spiritual principle heaven enforces when a chosen one is stepping into financial breakthrough and destiny acceleration. You cannot take old attachments into a new anointing. God needs you to break decisively and without hesitation from anything that siphons your clarity, your energy, or your confidence. This includes people, habits, and even internal dialogues that keep resurrecting the generational curses you were born to end. Do this immediately. Identify the one voice pattern or connection that makes your spirit feel small. You know exactly what it is the moment you think of it. Your chest tightens. Step back from it today. Not with drama, not with announcement, with silence. Heaven moves most powerfully when you detach quietly. This is not punishment for others. This is protection for your purpose. When you cut energetic and emotional ties with what drains you, you reclaim spiritual authority over your path. And once that authority is reclaimed, destiny alignment begins to activate in the unseen. Your clarity increases. Your spirit gets lighter. Financial blockage begins to crumble because the enemy loses his foothold. You cannot rise holding on to what was assigned to keep you earthbound. Severance is not cruelty. Severance is obedience. And obedience unlocks abundance. The second protocol, the mantle of daily command wealth in the spirit begins before wealth in the natural, and God is requiring you now to take command of your atmosphere before you take possession of your inheritance. This means you start each morning not scrolling, not reacting, not rushing, but issuing spiritual directives over your day. This is how a chosen one strikes back. Before your feet touch the floor, speak with authority. Every delay breaks now. Every assignment against my rise is cancelled. My mind comes into divine alignment. My steps enter breakthrough timing. You are not begging God. You are partnering with Him. Commanding your day isn't arrogance, it is stewardship. Your words become spiritual weapons, and your declarations become the blueprint that heaven builds upon. Do not skip this. Do not minimize it. Daily command stabilizes your frequency, strengthens your discernment, and dismantles the subtle spiritual warfare that tries to ambush you through fear, confusion, or exhaustion. When you command your day, you reclaim the hours the enemy used to steal through distraction, discouragement, or emotional sabotage. This is how you reset the narrative of your life. This is how acceleration begins. The third protocol, the gate of financial purity. Before God trusts you with billions, He purifies the place where wealth will flow. This is not about giving everything away. This is about removing the spiritual contaminants that have clung to your relationship with money: lack mentality, fear of not having enough, shame from past failures, guilt for wanting abundance, and the generational belief that prosperity is for other people. These are not harmless thoughts. They are spiritual parasites. And tonight, heaven needs you to cleanse the gate. Here is how: sit in stillness and acknowledge the oldest financial wound you carry, the first time you felt unworthy of abundance, the moment money made you feel small, the memory that taught you fear instead of trust. Bring that memory to the surface and breathe. Say these words: "This no longer defines me." When you release that wound, something shifts instantly in the spirit realm. Divine intervention begins to flow. Ideas sharpen. Opportunities appear. Doors that were sealed begin to crack open. Because the blockage was never just financial, it was emotional, psychological, inherited. And purity at the gate creates space for supernatural provision to flood through. This is where heaven begins to entrust you with resources that match your calling, because abundance in clean hands becomes a kingdom tool, not a burden. And now that these foundational protocols have been placed in your spirit, God is ready to reveal the next layer, the deeper mechanics, the hidden operations, the weaponry that will operate beneath the surface of your life. Because once these foundations are established, heaven can finally introduce the next tier of strategies, the ones that do not just defend you, but advance you. The fourth protocol, the midnight cry. There is a reason heaven often wakes you at strange hours, especially around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or just before dawn. That is not insomnia. That is not anxiety. That is the watchman anointing stirring in your spirit. When God is accelerating your destiny, the realm of spiritual warfare becomes active at night, and the chosen ones are summoned into partnership. Here is what you do when you wake unexpectedly. Do not scroll. Do not sigh. Do not try to force sleep. Instead, sit on the edge of your bed and whisper one sentence: "Lord, I am listening." This posture alone shifts dimensions. Then speak softly your tears, your frustrations, your gratitude, your desires. At midnight and in the third watch, tears become weapons and whispered prayers become arrows. You're not trying to be eloquent. You're aligning your frequency to the divine. This is when generational curses begin to fracture. This is when destiny acceleration begins to ignite. This is when financial breakthrough starts stirring in the unseen. If you've ever woken from sleep with a strange heaviness, know this: heaven was inviting you to pick up your sword. If you feel that invitation even now, comment softly, "I answer the call." Because, chosen one, the night is not your enemy. The night is your battleground. The fifth protocol, the circle of silence elevation, demands privacy. Promotion demands secrecy. When God is preparing to release wealth, transfer, destiny, alignment, and supernatural provision, the enemy cannot stop the blessing, but he can sabotage your preparation for it. And he does this through people. People who look supportive but carry subtle jealousy. People who clap for your progress but quietly speak fear into your plans. People who disguise discouragement as realistic advice. Hear me, your vision is holy ground. Not everyone gets to walk on it. Starting today, practice what heaven calls the circle of silence. When something is growing in your spirit, an idea, a prophetic instruction, a business concept, a financial step, keep it between you and God until it is strong enough to stand. Say this aloud often: "I will not give my blueprint to unassigned people." When Joseph shared his dream prematurely, He was thrown into a pit by those closest to him. But when Jesus healed people, he often told them, "Tell no one." Silence is not secrecy, it is spiritual wisdom. Guard your plans until heaven says, "Reveal." Guard your dreams until God says, "Move." Guard your momentum like treasure. Because when chosen ones speak too soon, dream assassins awaken. But when chosen ones move in silence, breakthrough timing becomes unstoppable. The sixth protocol, the embargo on negative speech. Chosen one, the final strategy in this sequence, is perhaps the most radical shift heaven needs from you. You must eliminate every word that contradicts the future God is building. Your tongue has been a battlefield, and the enemy has used your own doubts as spiritual warfare against your destiny. No more saying "I'm broke." No more saying "It never works out for me." No more saying "Maybe I'm not meant for abundance." These sentences are contracts, and heaven needs you to break them. Starting today, place a total embargo on negative speech. If fear rises, speak faith instead. If doubt whispers, speak destiny alignment out loud. If the enemy says you will fail, answer immediately, "I rise." This is not toxic positivity. This is prophetic discipline. The Israelites wandered for 40 years because of their words. Jesus calmed storms with his words, and you will shift your entire financial atmosphere with yours. From this moment forward, treat every sentence as an instruction to the universe. Speak only what builds. Speak only what aligns. Speak only what heaven can agree with. Your future is listening, and heaven is waiting to introduce the next dimension of strategy, the deeper operations, the inner mechanics, the hidden protocols that will shape the next phase of your rise. Because once your words come into alignment, heaven immediately turns its attention to the spaces around you, the structures, the habits, the environments that must be purified for wealth transfer, destiny, acceleration, and supernatural clarity to flow without interference. The seventh protocol, the environment shift. Chosen one, listen carefully. Your atmosphere is preaching to you even when you think it's silent. Clutter is not just clutter. Disorder is not just disorder. A messy desk, a chaotic bedroom, piles of old papers, clothes you no longer wear, drawers filled with the remnants of old seasons. These things carry spiritual residue. They echo the frequencies of who you used to be, not who you are becoming. And heaven will not pour abundance into a container contaminated by yesterday's energy. So here is your prophetic instruction: pick one corner and cleanse it. Not frantically, not with pressure, intentionally. As you remove old objects, say softly, "This season is over." As you fold clothes, as you sweep, as you wipe surfaces, say, "I make room for what's coming." This is not cleaning. This is consecration. Angels respond to order. Ideas flow in clean spaces. Financial breakthrough gravitates toward environments aligned with purpose. If, as you hear this, your spirit is stirring, take a moment and comment, "I make room." Because once the atmosphere shifts, your mind follows, and once the mind shifts, blessings know where to land. The eighth protocol, the altar of praise. Now hear this with the full weight of heaven. Praise is not music. Praise is not mood. Praise is warfare. When you praise in the middle of confusion, you disarm the enemy. When you praise in the middle of anxiety, you break spiritual strongholds. When you lift your hands, even though your heart feels heavy, you confuse every power assigned to delay you. Praise bends the atmosphere. Praise cracks demonic strategies. Praise accelerates divine alignment. So here is what you must do each day. Choose one moment, morning, afternoon, night, and pause everything. Play one worship song. Lift your voice, or whisper if you must. Say, God, even now you are good. That one act shifts your frequency. It raises your spiritual altitude above the battlefield. It turns your living room into holy ground. It invites divine intervention without you begging for it. This is how chains snap without warning. This is how generational curses crumble without ceremony. This is how wealth transfer begins its movement toward your hands, not because you shouted louder, but because you surrendered deeper. The ninth protocol, strategic sowing. This principle is heavy but necessary. When the enemy attacks your finances, the most powerful counterstrike is not saving, it is sowing. Sowing is not losing money. Sowing is sending money on assignment. When you plant a seed, no matter the size, you activate a spiritual law older than every economic system on earth. God cannot multiply what you refuse to release. And chosen one, your next financial breakthrough requires circulation, not stagnation. Here is how you walk this out. Identify an area where fear has held your wallet hostage. Then give intentionally, not impulsively. Give to someone in need. Give to a ministry that feeds you spiritually. Give to a cause that reflects God's heart. As you release, say, this seed breaks the blockage. Watch what follows. Unexpected refunds, opportunities resurfacing, divine alignment in business, supernatural favor, and open doors that were welded shut before. Strategic sowing is not about the amount. It is about the obedience. It is about the declaration in the spirit realm that you trust God more than the fear of lack. And before you take another step forward, chosen one, you must understand this truth. Revelation without discipline dissolves. Instruction without consistency collapses. It is not what you do once that shifts your destiny. It is what you return to day after day, especially when your emotions are tired and your faith feels thin. The enemy doesn't fear a chosen one who starts strong. He fears the one who continues. Because hell knows something many believers forget. Most people burn bright for 3 days, then dim. 3 days of passion, then old habits whisper. 3 days of fire, then discouragement breathes down their neck. 3 days of focus, then spiritual cooling begins, subtle and silent, until the momentum God stirred slips through their fingers. Hear me. Your destiny is not undone by ignorance. It is undone by inconsistency. Empires don't crumble because their rulers lacked vision. They crumble because their rulers lacked rhythm. And the same is true in the spirit. A chosen one wins by returning to alignment, returning to prayer, returning to purity, returning to gratitude, returning to intentionality. Even when it is inconvenient, even when your schedule shakes, even when spiritual warfare presses against your ribs. But you will not sustain this by willpower alone. Human determination burns out. Motivation dries up. Emotion fluctuates. And discipline rooted in self alone becomes brittle under pressure. So listen, you must lean into the Holy Spirit. Ask Him every morning to fortify your resolve. Ask Him every evening to restore what the day drained from you. Ask Him in quiet moments to correct your course, renew your clarity, sharpen your discernment, and strengthen your spiritual backbone. He is the breath behind your endurance. He is the fire behind your consistency. He sustains what your flesh cannot. And He turns your daily obedience into unstoppable destiny alignment. Chosen one, all the weapons, all the codes, All the protocols have now been placed in your hands. But there is one final key that activates them. Without this key, nothing ignites. Without this, key strategies remain dormant. Without this key, doors stay closed. That key is the sealing prayer. We are about to step into the Holy of Holies. Prepare your heart, because what we are stepping into now is not instruction. It is encounter. It is the moment where heaven leans close enough to feel your breath, where the veil thins, where the atmosphere shifts from knowledge to communion. Chosen one. Before we speak another word, change your posture. If you can place one hand over your heart, feel its rhythm, feel its tremble, feel the story it carries. Or lift your hands just slightly, palms open, as if offering God your burdens. Or gently close your eyes, letting the room fade into stillness. Breathe. Slower now. Softer. Let the noise inside you settle like dust in a sunbeam. Let your shoulders drop. Let your thoughts quiet. We are entering holy ground, and now, in this hush, in this sacred pause, in this soft collapsing of every wall you've built to survive, we call upon Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, the God who sees ahead, the God who releases abundance before your need even reaches your lips, the God who has been watching your struggle, timing your breakthrough, preparing your elevation long before the world ever doubted you. Jehovah Jireh, we come before you with reverence, not rushing, not demanding, but grateful, so profoundly grateful that you would meet us here in this moment. Thank you for seeing every tear the viewer cried alone. Thank you for watching every spiritual battle unfold in the shadows. Thank you for walking them through delay, disappointment, and deep weariness without letting their spirit collapse. Thank you for preparing a financial breakthrough that outweighs every season of lack. Thank you for the wealth, the favor, the divine alignment that has been forming silently behind the scenes. Jehovah Jireh, as the viewer stands here with a hand over their heart or eyes closed or palms lifted, receive this posture as a sign that they are ready, a sign that they are listening, a sign that they are yielding the old and making room for the new. Draw near now. Let your presence settle on them like warm light. Let your peace wrap around their ribs and soften the tension they've held for years. Let your breath move through the places inside them that have felt starved of hope. Provide not just money but clarity. Provide not just opportunity but discernment. Provide not just breakthrough timing but the strength to carry the blessing without fear. Jehovah Jireh, release the weight of your provision into their atmosphere. Whisper to the winds concerning their name. Shift the hearts of decision makers. Open doors without hinges. Call forth the resources assigned to their destiny. Remove every hand that tries to block what you have ordained. Let the wealth transfer begin to stir even now. Chosen one, breathe again. You are standing in the center of divine intention. You are wrapped in the presence of a God who has never failed to provide for his own. Let your spirit receive what your mind cannot yet explain. Jehovah Jireh, continue the work you have begun, Jehovah Jireh. For now we step deeper into the chambers where chains are broken, where darkness loses its grip, where destinies ignite under your breath. And so now, by the authority of the Holy Spirit, we call forth the breaker anointing over this chosen life. Jehovah Jireh, I decree that every generational curse, every cycle of poverty, every pattern of delay, every ancestral assignment of lack breaks now, not gradually, not eventually, but instantly under the weight of your power. I command the chains that wrapped around their lineage for decades to snap like thin twigs in a wildfire. I break the spirit of almost, the spirit of never enough, the spirit of not for you. I shatter every inherited limitation, spoken, unspoken, whispered or assumed. And I declare that this viewer becomes the pivot in their bloodline, the first to rise, the one who ends the cycle, the one who steps into divine provision with holy authority. Let every curse return to dust beneath their feet. Let every ancient shadow release its hold. Let the breaker go before them, and make the crooked places straight. And as those chains fall, we raise the next wall in the spirit, the divine hedge, around their life. Father, surround them now with a wall of fire. Let no nighttime terror approach their home. Let no spiritual warfare penetrate their sleep. Let no plot, no hex, no curse, no word spoken in envy cross the boundary of your protection. I decree protection over their children, their finances, their career, their rising influence. Place angels at the corners of their dwelling, mighty, watchful, unblinking. Let every weapon formed against them be dissolved before it even reaches the air. Let every agenda sent to drain their energy or sabotage their elevation burn on contact with your glory. Let their home become untouchable territory in the kingdom of God. And now, Lord, as the hedge forms, as the fire rises, as the breaker clears the path, I speak to the realm of thoughts, the landscape of their inner world, the quiet battlefield where so many chosen ones bleed unseen, and I loose the enemy silencer over their mind. Every lying voice, every whisper that says you will fail, every echo of past humiliation, every demonic suggestion of fear, shame, or unworthiness, I shut it down now, in the name of Jesus. I bind the spirit of accusation. I bind the tormentor that waits for them at night. I bind the arrows of anxiety that strike without warning, and I decree clarity to rise like morning light. Let their thoughts come into divine order. Let their mind return to peace. Let the static of spiritual warfare be replaced with the stillness of the Holy Spirit. Let your voice become unmistakable within them, stronger than fear, louder than doubt, gentler than their own breath. Father, wrap their mind in your presence, hold their thoughts steady, and continue this work as we now move toward the deepest chamber of this prayer, the place where the final seal must now be set upon their life, where every word spoken rises like incense before your throne, where every decree becomes law in the Spirit. And so now, Jehovah Jireh, with gentleness, with certainty, with holy authority, we bring this prayer to its seal. It is done. It is established in the courts of heaven. It is sealed and cannot be reversed. Let the blessing run toward them. Let the breakthrough recognize their name. Let the wealth you ordained move without resistance. Let their steps be ordered into the future you designed long before time began. So let it be written, so let it be established, so let it live. Chosen one, if this prayer touched someplace deep inside you, stay connected to this flow. Subscribe so you never miss the next instruction heaven releases for your journey. Not to follow a channel, but to keep your spirit aligned with every revelation, every warning, every prophetic key God places in your path. And if this moment felt sacred, if something in your spirit shifted, loosened, awakened, I invite you to mark it. Use Super Thanks not as a donation, but as a faith seed, a symbolic offering placed into the spiritual soil of this moment. A gesture that says, God, I agree with what you have spoken. I plant this seed into the future. You are preparing for me. Every harvest begins with a seed. Every breakthrough begins with agreement. Let your act be your altar, Chosen one, you are rising now. You are stepping into your appointed place. You are walking into the abundance heaven wrote over your life. And hear me, God is moving.